at dusk, there came a turning. There was a moment when all was known.
Hi, my name is Sue Skasky with Vermont Volunteer Services for Animals Humane Society, and welcome to our show, For the Animals. As you can see, today we're on site. We're releasing 5 baby raccoons that were orphaned and rescued by Nancy Carey, a licensed wildlife rehabber in Vermont. This is a fun story. You'll see what they do when they come into their new sanctuary. Enjoy the show, and thank you for watching For the Animals. So Nancy, where did these 5 raccoons come from?
Well, there's 3 are siblings in one family and 2 are in another family. And their moms were hit on the side of the road, so they've come from different locations. And they were hanging out by the mother's body. Took a while to catch the little babies, but we got them all. And so they've been on bottles when they were littler. They've doubled in size, obviously, so they're pretty big now.
About how old are they, Nancy?
They're about 12, 14 weeks old.
And they'll be able to forage for their dinner?
They will. They've had lots of practice. They've had crayfish to hunt for in their kiddie pools. And, of course, their mainstay is cat food, dry cat food. But they get fruits and vegetables. When I don't have crayfish, they get shrimp. But their favorite food is cookies, peanut butter sandwich cookies, and sandy pecan cookies. Those are their favorites. But they also get lots of insects and things that they can practice on, things that they're going to find in the wild that are going to sustain them.
How long have you been doing wildlife rehab now?
I've been doing it since 1992.
Wow, so you know your stuff.
It's been a long time.
And we were talking before, we're in need of more wildlife rehabbers in the state.
We definitely are. There were 3 of us doing these particular animals, rabies vectors, raccoons, skunks, foxes, and woodchucks. But now we're down to 2, and there's only about 16 of us in the whole state. Some folks do songbirds, some do raptors, and people specialize because they find that they have a heart and a knack for certain species and do a better job with those species.
Who would somebody contact if they wanted to train to be a rehabber?
If they want to get in touch with me, that would be good. I'll point them in the right direction. I have packets of information, including applications for permits and the laws and regulations that govern what we do. They can also get in touch with the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. If they're looking for a list of wildlife rehabilitators, there's a directory on the Fish and Wildlife Department's website. If you go into wildlife programs and then click on wildlife rehabilitators near you, it will bring up a map and it will bring up the name of licensed people.
Okay.
And the type of animals that they do.
They are lively.
They are. They've had a long ride, so they're a little anxious to get out.
Is there a reason one is separated from the others?
Just because catching them, they kind of dictate how they get caught and who goes where. So as you can see, the Allagash LL Bean basket there, that's one of their dens. It's like a hollow tree to them in their big enclosure at home. So they had a couple of those in their big enclosure. And one chose to sleep by himself, and the other 4 were in that basket. And so when they wound up being transported here to this wonderful location for release, this little guy decided that he wanted his own room for the travel. So he's by himself here. But they've been together outside for 6 weeks, at least a month and a half.
Do you know if they're male or female?
I do, but I don't have my records with me. It's one of those things that I write down because I'm not going to remember.
Right.
So everybody's got their own records, and I keep track of how big they were and what sex they are and where they came from, and a basic history of what was the cause for them coming into rehab in the first place.
When do they become sexually mature and active?
It will be maybe another year before they breed themselves.
Now, when we release them, do they stay together as a unit, or do they
They do, even if they're in an artificial family. We do get singletons in, and so we put those with other singletons so that they'll be a family unit. It's very important for them to interact with each other because they don't have their mother. So their personalities are distinct, just like with humans. There are some that are more aggressive as far as hunting and all of that stuff, and some that are a little more docile and cautious, that spook when there's a sound and tell everybody, we got to get up the tree. And there's others that say, oh, forget about it, we can hunt for the mice in the field. And so they balance everything out, and it's important that they stay together and are raised together so that they'll feed on each other's strengths. They'll hang out until next springtime, when they'll all decide to take a different path, which is the way nature dictates to them, so that everybody's not always in the same place forever.
I think the work you do in rehabbers is absolutely amazing because you are on call 24/7. When they need to be fed during the middle of the night, you have to get up and feed them.
Yes, it's like being an EMT or with the fire department. We have no idea what our schedule is going to be like. We don't know what's going to come in with the next phone call and what type of animal or what that animal's needs are going to be.
So you found these hanging at their mom's carcass.
Yes.
How many times do we go by a dead animal on the road and think, oh, they've got offspring somewhere, I should go look for them?
We do have to think about that because every spring, with the exception of bears, every spring, every female out there has babies. So, if you do see an animal on your property that's been hit by a car or on the road, I like to move them off of the road so that other animals are not going to come and get hit after that one. Or if she's got babies there, that they're not going to be wandering into the road. And if you go by that spot often, keep an eye out for those babies. Give us a call and let us know that they're there. Even if you can't do something about it, which, oftentimes people can't. But if you let us know, then we can get somebody on it and see what we can do about it.
That's a great idea.
And sometimes we can't. The interstate is one of those situations where oftentimes we're not allowed to do anything there.
We should get a list of all the wildlife rehabbers and put it up at the end of the show.
Oh, that would be great, yes.
Yeah, and also a link to you.
Perfect. That would be perfect. It's all about getting information out to folks about wildlife, about what they are and what they do, and how to take care of them.
Okay, now they're singing to beat the band. What are they? Are they scared? Are they happy?
They're a little nervous. That's their "I'm concerned" cry. When they're mad, they have a snort, almost like a pig. And but this purring and chirring sound is that they're worried. They're worried. They've been in large enclosures, and so for transport, they're in this small one. And just the sound of the car, which is a good thing, something for them to be concerned about when they hear cars. But this is very unusual for them. When they're little tiny guys, they don't care what you do.
Well, the beauty of this location is we're protected by the water, so they won't be by the river. And we've got acres and acres and acres of protected woods in back.
This is a perfect location. There's plenty of trees. There's the meadow that affords lots of little prey animals. Not that raccoons are big hunters, but they are opportunistic.
Okay.
They have shelter here. They can...
So you've been doing this a long time. How long does it take somebody to train to be a rehabber?
It doesn't take long at all. Some of the basic skills people already have. We know what they need. They need nutrition. They need shelter. And with wild animals, they need to not be exposed to things that are going to be hazardous to them, like our pets and our own environment. So we try and keep them as wild as possible, raising them up. Not that they don't hear our noises. You know, because mother raccoons do den up in our attics or in our sheds or garages, and the woodchucks live under our decks. But we try and minimize our contact with them so that once they're off of bottles, I don't handle them anymore. And we provide the things that they need to hone their skills to make a living on their own.
Such as?
So I don't have to teach these animals how to climb a tree or what is food, but I have to give them the opportunity to do that as youngsters.
Do you have a tree at your place?
Yes, they have lots of logs, hollowed logs and branches and trees so that they can practice those while they're in a safe environment, while they're in an enclosure. And they need to hone those skills. They know that crayfish are very good to eat, but they need the practice of catching a crayfish. So we put those in, buy 6, 8, 10 dozen at a time and put those in their ponds, their little water reservoirs in their enclosure. And they get out there and start catching those crayfish. Of course, we're talking about very small raccoons, much smaller than these are. They know instinctually that those crayfish are food. And they get their little fingers pinched and they learn how to grab the crayfish faster and bite them quicker. So they need to practice. All animals do that. If you're raising baby squirrels, thank goodness you don't have to climb a tree and teach them how to climb that tree. They know how to do that, but they do need to practice when they're little guys. So you have to give them trees to climb.
Would you be able to work, if somebody were interested, would they go on site with a wildlife rehabber and work with them?
That's the best way to do it, is to get on-site experience and hands-on experience with species that are safe for somebody to handle who may not have experience yet or may not be set up yet to get their permit. So we like to work people through that process. We like them to come and see what we do and how we do it and where we do it and the equipment that we use. And then we like to have them get some hands-on experience by handling animals that are more common animals like squirrels or songbirds.
Do you have one species that you prefer over another as far as entertainment?
Well, raccoons. They're pretty plentiful. They're a high-need animal as far as rescuing. We get a lot of baby raccoons in. But porcupines, woodchucks, baby skunks are a pleasure to take care of. They're just great. Skunks are easy to handle. Raccoons are a higher intelligence animal, and so their demands are a little bit more involved. They need to be cared for longer.
At what age do skunks start spraying?
Well, they can actually drop that lovely scent when they're pretty little, but they can't spray at 20 feet like an adult can. So you really don't want to scare even a baby skunk.
20 feet for an adult.
20 feet.
Oh my goodness.
It's pretty potent. We've all smelled it on the road, but boy, when you're up close and personal with it, it's very, very potent. I have things that are stained.
I'm sure.
With skunk spray that I wound up having to paint because bleaching didn't touch it.
Okay, Nancy, what can we do to help you?
Well, we're going to put some food out for them so that they'll have a little start before they start hunting on their own. And we'll put some water out for them here, and then we'll open the cages and let them go.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay? So I'll go to the car and get the food. Yes. Just a little bit to get them started. Oh yeah, you've got that other one that we put in here, that other Allagash basket.
Might they use that for shelter?
Yeah, they use it for a den in the enclosures because, you know, they don't have any big hollow trees, just small logs that are hollowed.
So we're going to face them towards the shed.
Yes, and hopefully that's where they'll go. But they are wild animals, so they have their own minds and decide what they're going to do themselves.
Well, in the past, it's been really neat to see them go up the tree and play up and down. And
it is nice because this is the first time that they get to play in a tree that has leaves on, because my trees in the enclosure don't. They're just branches. big as they are, they're still just branches. So, so here we go.
Get somebody going up that shed. Is it hard to say goodbye, Nancy?
It's bittersweet.
Bittersweet. Mm.
Yeah, I try not to think past this and wonder how many make it and how many don't.
Life.
Yep, it's out of your hands. In fact, the whole process basically is you do the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
And,
As in any mother, any father, any family.
absolutely.
He's going to join his siblings.
Even though they go off in different directions, they reunite. And it's all through their nose. He's looking for the trail of where the others went.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he's working on now. He says, I know they're around here. I can smell them, but I got to find where the trail is the strongest. And that'll tell me where they've gone.
Well, that one just went around the shed to the right. I believe the others are in this greenery to the left. I'm going to take the camera and go around the shed.
Okay.
Nancy, let's talk about what we just discovered.
Well, this is a fox den, and this actually belongs to 3 little foxes that were released here quite a while ago, and they've dug their own den. The foxes are very good at that. They'll use abandoned dens from woodchucks, but they'll also dig their own. And it goes quite deep in there, so it stays dry in case of flooding and all of that. Another thing that you're going to see here is some fox scat.
There was quite a bit there a couple weeks ago, I noticed.
Foxes like to leave their calling card. They like to let other animals know that they've been around. And oftentimes they'll defecate on something that's elevated, like up here, just to make sure that the message gets out.
Mm-hmm.
Campers have found a fox scat on their camping equipment, their backpacks and things like that. So these little guys...
I'm just going to try and get right in there and see if I could.
These little guys actually, their mother was hit by a car, and the young man found the den and managed to set up 3 large have-a-heart traps and caught all 3 of these little foxes when they were 1 pound, very little. So they were about 7-8 pounds when we brought them here and released them.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is done under regulations from the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department, so you have to have a permit to do this. And there are some dictates depending on the species. As you can imagine, if you're doing bear or game animals, turkeys or anything like that, there's a lot of regulations that dictate where you can release them and all of that. However, it's not so daunting that it can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, we're releasing the raccoons here today. We know that the fox are still here. How are they going to live together?
they have mutual respect for each other. The foxes are much more hunters, and the raccoons are more opportunistic. And the raccoons' diet varies a lot more than the foxes do, where the foxes will hunt for mice, and there's certainly death on crickets and grasshoppers and things like that. They are not out hunting your cat, but they certainly will take eggs. And
Are we talking about the raccoons or the fox
the
now?
foxes.
The fox will not go after a cat?
No, the foxes and cats pretty much respect each other too. There have been times when they've been pushed, because of food or something like that, or proximity. But most of the time, a cat and a fox will avoid each other. I've often seen them come together on a driveway and make a circle around, a little hissing and snorting and stuff like that. But for a wild animal, if a wild animal gets into a fight, even if they win that fight, if they get wounded, they're going to lose the war. They can't afford to get injured. So they avoid taking on an animal that's equally matched or a higher predator.
I know in the winter when we feed the birds with the feed down, the fox will come at night and eat it. And we had a beautiful silver fox that came and, would leave its calling card. In fact, right now, in my driveway, I have some scat I can't identify. I don't know if it's the groundhog. Does a groundhog leave its scat and marks as well?
Groundhog's scat looks more like mice, only a lot larger.
Oh, okay. This is greenish.
Kind of like rabbit pellets, too, except elongated.
Yeah, this is greenish and sort of runny. Any idea?
Turkeys.
Really?
Turkeys.
Haven't seen
that
them.
would be my guess.
Yeah?
Don't know, having not seen it, but that would be my guess, is that it's probably turkeys.
Well, we do have a groundhog that I've seen circle around the perimeter every once in a while. And I don't know if the groundhog is what's eating. I have a stray male cat And so I put food out every night until I can catch him to have him neutered. It seems every spring we have an unneutered male cat that shows up and leaves his calling card. But, interesting.
One thing I do want to mention about your cats, if they are outside, anybody who has the cats outside, there was a cat that was found just a few days ago at a veterinary office that was rabid. So your cats are out, make sure they're vaccinated, but just remember, for the general public, remember that that vaccine protects the kitty from rabies. It doesn't protect you from rabies if the cat brings saliva into your house on its coat because it's had a fight with a wild animal. So always look at it from that perspective, that your cat is outside and you have no idea what it's coming in contact with. And we also know that cats like to go looking for fights.
Sure.
Especially the big toms.
That's very true.
This is a beautiful example of a den. These little foxes.
We just saw the raccoon in the tree. I'm going to do a swipe. Oh, that face.
What a perfect picture.
Absolutely precious.
That's another wonderful point, is that wildlife, the raccoons make perfect raccoons. They don't make good pets.
Right.
So we have plenty of cats and dogs that are looking for homes, and they make perfect pets. But these little wild animals are exactly what they are. You're not going to change a squirrel into a kitty, and you're not going to change a raccoon or a fox into a dog. So we like to make sure our wildlife gets back into the places where it's supposed to be and get to do what they're supposed to do.
Now, we talked about raccoons, that they do not hibernate.
No.
So in the wintertime, what do they eat?
They put on a lot of fat, so they do a lot of sleeping, kind of like me.
We all know that feeling in the winter.
Yes, long nights, dark, early. So they do a lot of sleeping just like I do. And but when the cold spells break for a period of time, when we have a thaw, they'll wake up and they'll move around and eat a little bit, and then they'll go back to sleep for another week or two. But it's not a true hibernation like the woodchucks do or like the bears do.
Do they store apples or food or
They
anything?
don't store any food, no.
Huh.
Only on themselves and in their layers of fat. So they actually look a lot bigger than they are, but they do put on quite a bit of extra weight to get through the winter.
And again, this little guy is how old?
He's about 12, 14 weeks old.
Do they, and I know we started talking about it earlier, will they stay together to cuddle for the winter?
They will. It's been recorded that as many as 20 raccoons have denned up together in a hollow tree.
Oh, wow.
So that's a good survival instinct.
He's on the move.
Coming down head first.
At dusk, there came a turning. There was a moment when all was known. You could feel